at the Dock Lifeguard booth here at the Overland Park Convention Center for the Lake of the Ozarks Marine Dealers Association Boat Show. We all know that boating is all about fun on the water, but we also know that it comes with its share of risk. And we're here today with a couple that can tell you all about the risk of electric shock drowning and sadly the tragedy that happened with their family and the product that can help avoid it. Jimmy and Casey Johnson, sadly, it's been a little over a year now.
It's been a little bit less than a year.
A little bit less than a year since sadly you lost your 15-year-old daughter Carmen because of electric shock drowning. Can you take us through that day and what happened?
It was April the 16th last year, and we were just a normal day at the lake. My daughter had three of her friends down, and they were just having a big time. And so they decided they were going to lay out on the top deck of the boat dock, and it was still, the water temperature wasn't warm enough to get in the water or anything. But my daughter is always she's always a big daredevil, and she's always the first one in the water. But me and my son, we were working on the walkway, and we were actually close to the dock during that time. We're sitting there working on the walkway, and all of a sudden I hear a big splash in the water, and it was my daughter going in and coming up and acting like it wasn't cold when the water was still like 65 degrees, and so she was trying to coerce her other friends to jumping off, you know. And I looked over about that time and seen that she hadn't put the ladder in the water yet. So I went over and put the ladder in the water. And she was still coercing, trying to coerce her friends into the water. And so I walked back and I'm working on the walkway again, and I hear a splash. Finally, she had coerced another one of her friends into the water. And so I looked over and she popped up and she started hollering about how cold it was and everything. And all of a sudden we hear, "Help." And, you know, they're always hollering and that kind of stuff, you know, so we didn't think anything about it just right off the bat. And, but it did sound weird, so I kind of jumped up, you know, then I heard it again, and then I knew something was wrong. So I took off running down the walkway in between my two boat slips so I could see the ladder where they were at. And when I got there, all I saw was Carmen's friend holding onto the ladder and looking at me with this look in her face like, "Please help me." And I couldn't see my daughter while I looked, and I could see her about 2 foot underwater. And it looked like, to me, what was happening was my daughter had something that was pulling her underwater, and she had a hold of this girl and was trying to pull her off the ladder, you know what I'm saying? So that's what it looked like was happening. So I dove in immediately, and as soon as I came up, I could feel as soon as I jumped in, I could feel the electricity in the water.
And you have a background.
I have a background in electronic repair, so I've been electrocuted quite a few times, you know, over the years, so I knew what it felt like. So as soon as I came up, I could barely even raise my arm out of the water. That's how strong it was. And I raised it up, and the natural thing to do is grab a hold of something, you know, because you can't swim in it. Well, you grab a hold of the source, and which was the ladder. Yeah, so I grabbed a hold of it, and as I grabbed a hold of it, I start hollering out, and my wife was actually on the walkway, or up by the house, actually. She was up by the house, and so when I grabbed a hold of it, I knew what was happening. I started hollering. I hollered out twice, you know, "Cut the power to the boat dock, cut the power to the boat dock." But that's really all I could say at that point, because almost a couple of seconds later, I start blacking out. And so I blacked out, and I went underwater, and then I came back up out of the water, and I know now the reason for that was my son, that's 23, had jumped in also, and he had grabbed a hold of my shoulder, like I'm grabbed a hold of the ladder. He grabbed a hold of my shoulder, and when he done that, it took enough of the electricity off of me to make me come back to for a minute. And so then I look over and I see he's in the water with me, and I know what's happening to us, and I know all I could think was if the power didn't get cut, we're all fixing to die. And about that time, I started blacking out again, and then she cut the power.
And Casey, you're watching this. Everyone you love is in the water, and there's a problem.
I didn't know what was happening at first. I mean, I'm thinking the girls are hollering. I'm thinking, okay, they're being bit by snakes or something. That's all I could think, because I knew Carmen was a great swimmer. But as I got the power cut, and I'm the kind of person, like, when an intense moment happens, I just freeze up, and it's like, I don't know what to do. But something just like carried me, because I'd made it all the way down to the dock almost, and we have a long walkway and upstairs and stuff. And I'm thinking, oh gosh, how do I cut this power off? And all of a sudden, right as I get to where the power source was, it hit me, try this. And I tried it, and I holler, did that get it? Did that get it? And then I hear somebody say something. So I knew that it got it at that moment, but it just, I mean, I still didn't know what was happening. Even though I knew I was cutting the power, I didn't realize what was going on still.
And you certainly didn't realize the intensity of it. Now, could you tell from outside that you couldn't tell that the box was waterlogged because the power box was waterlogged? Was that happening?
Yeah, that's what happened. Well, we didn't know until I had an electrician go down the next week and start dissecting it because I wanted to know how the metal got electrified because we knew the metal was electrified, but we didn't know what had caused it, you know what I'm saying? So we had found out that we had a light switch that, I mean, it was a sealed outdoor light switch, but it had leaked water in from the top and half filled with water, and that's what was conducting the electricity onto the metal post. And I mean, that metal post was probably 25 feet away from where the ladder was at. So, I mean, that's how good it transferred it through the metal, and then there was an aluminum ladder, and when I put the aluminum ladder in the water, it actually touches up against the dock, and that's how it was making contact with it. And then once you get on the ladder, it's holding it up against the dock, you know what I'm saying? So,
and the light switch box itself was under, the covered boat dock, so it wasn't like it was out in the elements. Yeah.
But we had real bad storms, though, in January, flooding and all kinds of stuff going on, and that's when the water, we're anticipating that's when the water got in there, and, of course, then, just a couple months later, we're down there, cleaning things up and getting ready for the season, and that's when the accident happened.
And not even during the midst of the season, just getting ready for the season. I know that because everyone made it out, unfortunately, but Carmen did not make it, and all the respect in the world to you because of that event. You've dedicated yourselves to getting out and helping with awareness, not only of what are the signs, what are some of the things you can do to avoid it, what are the signs when it's happening, what do? You were telling me earlier that the tendency is to go toward the dock, but really you need to swim farther away. And then, of course, a product that can avoid these tragedies altogether. So, let's talk about your mission now, because I'd like to point out this happened in Alabama.
Right.
So we're here for the Lake of the Ozarks Marine Dealers Association,
right.
But you two have dedicated yourselves to traveling around the country now and helping people become aware.
Well, and we had a friend of ours that had come to us just a couple of days after the accident. Yeah, and he had actually done some research and found that there was a device that we could put on our dock that would have it would have alarmed us and let us know that we had a danger. Now, avoiding it, I mean, it's not going to, if you still got in the water, you would still get electrocuted. So it's not going to avoid it completely, but it's going to let you know that you got a dangerous situation and to not get in the water, okay? And if you are in the water and it goes off, if it goes off that you need to stay away from the dock. You don't need to go towards the dock, So it's educating people that, hey, if this device does go off, don't swim to the dock because the dock is the problem,
So in your scenario, would it have alerted you when the ladder went in the water? Is that when it would have alerted you?
No, it would have alerted us. Dock Lifeguard piece is not just for the water. It also monitors the metal. So as soon as the water filled up in the light switch and caused the electricity to start conducting to the metal, it would have went off. So when we pulled up there, our Dock Lifeguard would have been going off. Exactly. We would have known there'd have been a problem, and we could have cut power and then went down there and figured out what the problem was. So I mean, yes, it would have alarmed again if it wasn't, but it's got metal protection. And in Alabama, most of the docks are aluminum or they're steel, and so it's protecting that metal, letting you know when you got a dangerous situation. Before you ever even induce it into the water. So I mean, we would have never even gotten that far because we would have known immediately that we had a problem as soon as we pulled up down there. Actually, we got neighbors that live there, and anytime if it's going to go off, I mean, they're going to know it. They're going to be calling me saying, hey, you got your alarm going off down there. You need to see what's going on. So,
well, we can't thank you enough for sharing your story with us. And of course, you're doing such a great deed by letting other people know and helping to build awareness. And of course, keeping Carmen's memory alive by doing a good thing. If you shared a story with me earlier that I think it's profound, even though it wasn't necessarily the best thing to do, helping her friend get to the ladder. All she had in mind was helping her friend get to the ladder.
That's right. Yeah, she did.
You found that later.
Yeah, well, her friend, when we started talking about, because we wanted to kind of question, because we weren't in the water the whole time, and she was, you know what I'm saying? So, we had some questions for her, what happened? Could you swim all the way to the ladder, or could you not swim way before you got to the ladder? And, they couldn't swim probably 6-7 feet 8 feet away from the ladder, it started affecting them. As they got closer to the ladder, it got worse, and they were going underwater before they got probably 4 feet from the ladder. They were going underwater. Well, she had told her mom and dad that Jimmy, me, that had pushed her to the ladder and saved her. Well, that's not what happened, because she was already on the ladder, but her memory, just from being electrocuted, she couldn't remember exactly what all happened. But when I run down there, she was already on the ladder, and my daughter was, like I said, about down at her waist when I jumped in, and my daughter had pushed her to the ladder, and ended up saving her because she pushed her to the ladder.
I know she was young, but she's left quite a legacy. And once again, thank you so much for sharing your story. You can learn more about electric shock drowning and dock safety at doclifeguard.com.